Please subscribe the channel, press the like button, and activate the notifications. Closing the eyes will not change anything, nothing will disappear just because you do not want to see it, but you will find that the matter got worse the next time you look at it. This is the world in which we live in. Keep your eyes open to their wide. Only a coward closes his eyes. Closing your eyes and blocking your ears will not stop time. Kafka on the Shore. A novel published in 2002, written by the novelist Haruki Murakami. It was translated into Arabic in 2007 within the Project Kalima adopted by the Abu Dhabi Authority for Culture and Heritage. The novel consists of 49 chapters, which we transmit through between the two main characters, the 15-year-old Kafka, and the old man Nakata. Because of the length of the novel, we decided to submit over 2 parts. The first part we will talk about the boy Kafka and his adventures to escape from the curse of his father, and find himself during the journey that he decided to take or may have written by fate. And in the second part we will present Nakata and his wondrous world and his journey to fill the void inside him. And at the end of the second part we will present our opinion on the novel and some notes. The story begins with the 15-year-old Kafka talking to the boy Crow, and plans to flee his home. His plan was so simple that he would flee the house for a remote town, to live and work in his small library. The boy Crow told him that it will not be a smooth journey. He must be the most powerful boy of 15 years of age in the world. The boy did not escape by chance. He planned nearly 2 years ago to escape. For that he practiced various sports exercises and played on sports equipment, so he will be head wide shoulders and a wide chest, and with the advantage of his length and rigid features and cold eyes that he inherited from his father. All these factors made him appear older, and thus his first step succeeded. Kafka took from his father's office money, penknife, and flashlight. In addition to a picture of him with his older sister on a shore. At that time he was about 3 years old. He does not remember that he went to the shore with his family one day, does not have pictures of his mother, as his father got rid of all the pictures. He took his father's mobile phone, took his bag and left the empty house at 3 p.m. heading to Shikoku. There he knows no one and will not be suspected his presence in it. The bus launched at night with a 10-hour trip to Takamatsu, and at midnight, Crow wakes him up to wish him a happy birthday. At dawn, a driver stopped the bus an hour before her arrival to Takamatsu at a road rest. The boy sat by rest drinking a cup of tea. A girl sat next to him and told him that she came to Takamatsu to stay at her friend's house and she works as a hairdresser in Tokyo. The girl kept talking, and the boy just nodding. When they returned to the bus, the girl sat next to him and went to sleep directly. The boy thought that she could be a sister as she is almost in her age. He does not know anything about his sister except their photo on the shore. The boy ignored that thoughts and went also to sleep. Later he woke up on the girl voice while she left the bus fidgeting of the long trip. She presented herself as Sakura, and he introduced himself as Kafka Tamura, the name he chose to himself. Sakura wrote her cell phone number on a piece of paper, and told him that she would stay for a while at her friend's apartment, and that he could call her anytime. Kafka decided before going to the hotel where he previously booked, to visit Kamura Memorial Library, as Kafka admired the library since his childhood. He spent most days in the public library, which was as his home, and when he decided to come to Takamatsu, Kamura Library was the first place he wanted to visit. Kafka took a train delivered him to the library, and when he reached the station crossing a number of old stores and old houses, he found himself in front of the gate of Kamura Library. After passing the gate, you pass by a beautiful garden lead to an entrance not less beautiful, as it is decorated with unique decorations. And when Kafka entered the library, a young boy with soft skin, long hair, and thin body hold a card with Oshima name, welcomed him and started to inform his about the library instruction, and explained to him that Kumura is a private library specialized in old books, especially the poetry of tanka and haiku, and most of its visitors attend to prepare special research. Oshima also told him a little about the history of the building, and that the former head of Kumura family was fond of literature, and collected many rare books with passion, and having this valuable collection stimulated the family to transform the building into his office, and that he could join the weekly tour every Tuesday at 2 p.m., headed by Miss Ayuki, to introduce the place and its most famous holdings. Kafka thanks him, and went into the library, chose a book and sat on the couch in the reading room. He felt at home, and at 2 p.m. he joined the tour Oshima talked about with only a couple from Osaka led by Miss Ayuki. Kafka was unable to resist the idea that Miss Ayuki could be his mother, as he does not know how neither his mother looks like nor her age. During the tour, Miss Ayuki explained in details about the history of the building. The tour includes a visit to all floors. Kafka enjoyed the beauty of the architecture and the displayed paintings, and upon the end of the tour he returned to the reading hall. And at 5, he left the library. He boarded the train for the hotel, entered the hotel room and found it a simple and cheap room. He sat on the bed and felt free. But at the same time getting lost, he is in a strange place wondering what his father is doing now. Did he realize his disappearance or not? The next morning Kafka had breakfast, which was served as complimentary to room booking. He did not feel full. Remembered how he used to eat whatever he wanted in his home. The boy called Crow told him that he should now use to eat crumbs because he wanted to be the strongest boy at 15 years old. Kafka took his bag and went to a nearby gym. Worked out his exercise on sports machines, and when he finished, he went to the library carrying his bag. Oshima welcomed him with a smile. Kafka spent the rest of the day reading and left the library at 5 o'clock. Kafka spent the next 7 days with a defined system. Waking up in the morning, eating breakfast at the hotel, exercising either in his room or at the gym, going to the library until the time it closes except on Monday, as he spent it in the public library because it is the day off at Kumura Library, and then dining at the nearby cafe and then going to sleep. One day, Kafka woke up to find himself among trees, not remembering anything from what happened. The last thing he remembered was his presence in the coffee shop next to the hotel eating dinner. He looked at the hour and found it at 11:30 in the evening. He lost 4 hours of memory, and his left shoulder hurts badly. He opened his bag. Searched inside it. There is nothing missing. He took out the flashlight from it, and walked through the trees using his light, to find himself at a small temple, entered the bathroom to find his hair and face covered in mud, and there are blood stains covering his clothes, but he was not bleeding from anywhere. Took off his clothes and put them in a plastic bag to get rid of it later, washed his hair, face, and his trembling hands. He realized that it was the blood of another person, but he couldn't remember anything. He wore another clothes. He was afraid to return to the hotel cause he did not realize what actually happened. He took out the mobile phone and called Sakura. He explained to her that he is in a trouble and he needs her help. She asked him to come to her apartment and gave him the address. The apartment in which Sakura stays dirty and cheap. She told him that her friend had traveled to India for a month's journey, and that she offered her to stay in her apartment and take her place at work until she came back. Sakura agreed as she wanted to live for a while away from the capital, and that she realized from the first meeting between them at Road Rest that he escaped from his home, as she also fled from her home at the age of 16, but not very far away. The police found her and brought her home. Kafka realized that he must inform her of everything if he wanted to get her help, so he told her everything that happened with him since he left the house, and he told her about his mother and his sister who left the house at the age of 4. He knows anything about them other than his only picture with his sister, and he told her about his loss of 4 hours of time, and waking up between the trees behind the temple and blood stains covering his clothes. Sakura asked him if he had a similar accident of losing memory before. He told her that he had suffered twice from a fit of anger during which he lost his awareness of what around him. Unfortunately, he caused harm to some people during them. Sakura examined his left shoulder and assured him that it is just a bruise, but she is shocked and does not have any explanation of how he got to the temple, as well as the reason for the bloodstains. To reassure Kafka, she made some tea, and got rid of the stained clothes. But Kafka remains worried that he may have seriously hurt someone. Sakura reassured him that the blood could have many causes. And while drinking tea, Sakura asked Kafka how his mother had left the house and left him with his father, and took his sister even though she was her adopted child. Kafka answered that he asked the same question throughout his life. Sakura felt sad for Kafka, and told him that she is now his older sister. Kafka thanked her and lay in his sleeping bag and slept directly. Kafka waked up at 9 a.m. to find that Sakura had already left to work, and she left a note telling him that she had seen the news bulletin at 7 a.m., and it did not show any news about a crime in the area, and this is good evidence that he did not harm anyone last night. Kafka packed his bag and left a note to Sakura thanking her again, and left for Kumura Library. Kafka did not find another option in front of him, as he needed help, so he gathered his courage and told Oshima that he was in trouble and that he needed a place to stay in. Oshima told him that he could ask the mistress to give him a permission to stay in the guest room in the library, and to give him a job, but he needed several days to arrange things. And, accordingly, he will drive him to a place he could stay in the coming days. Kafka thanked him, and after Oshima finished his work at 5 o'clock, they took the car, and on the way Oshima told him that they will be heading to a region called the Koki Mountains, and that they inherited the entire mountain from their grandfather, and that the road take around 2.5 hours in the car. Kafka apologized to him for having to drive that long journey. Oshima told him that he loves to drive the car, as he feels that he is practicing a risky adventure, because he suffers from hemophilia, and he cannot experience bleeding, so driving a car is the most dangerous sport he can exercise. When they arrived, Kafka found himself in the middle of a large forest in front of a small hut, got out of the car and entered the hut. Oshima lit an old lamp, and apologized for the simplicity of the hut, but his older brother Sana built him by himself. And because of their preoccupation with their work, they did not visit the hut for a long time, and before Oshima leaves, he gave Kafka advice to live in the place, and he warned him against wandering inside the forest, as it is a dangerous place, as he can easily be lost, and that he will return to him within days. After Oshima left, Kafka closed the hut and entered his sleeping bag. He couldn't resist the feeling of scare of the quietness surrounding the place that's only penetrated with the sound of some animals. Then he heard the boy crow mocking his fear after he promised to be the strongest boy at the age of 15. Kafka ignored him, closed his eyes hardly, and surrendered to sleep. Kafka woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning to find in the darkness dissipated, and that everything glowed under the golden sunbeam. Kafka got up and wandered a little around the hut, and afternoon, he decided to walk around the forest, walking a little away from the hut. And when he go deeper into the forest, he was surprised with the forest intertwined to the extent of making you feel suffocation and fear. Kafka fled back to the hut. The next day he started his day normally, and afternoon he set out towards the forest. Fortified with his compass and an axe, he decided to put signs on the trees to guide him on the way back. He walked deep in the forest till he reached an empty round space with no trees at all. He sat in it enjoying his sunlight, and at the end of the day he went back to the hut, and during the night, the rain fell heavily. Kafka used to live in the hut, even though he only spent 3 days in it. The sounds of nature no longer frightened him. He enjoyed his tours of the forest, exploring each time a new path that would bring him back to the hut. On the 4th day, Oshima reached by car at noon. Kafka packed his bag, and they left. On the way, Oshima told him with the news of Miss Ayuki's approval to work in the library, and allowed him to stay at the guest rooms, and that his work will be simple. Kafka thanked Oshima and told him that he is happy because he will become part of the library. And before they arrived, Oshima told him that he must told him a little bit about Miss Ayuki, because she is his mother's friend since childhood. And in the middle school she fell in love with a young man, and he is the eldest son of Kumura's family, and their love was special. Then after they finished school, the guy went to Tokyo to study in a university, and she stayed in Takamatsu and specialized in piano in the college. And despite their separation they continued to communicate and their love increased. And in her second year in college, Miss Ayuki wrote a song, melodied it, and sang with her own voice. one of her friends recording her singing during a party, and sent the tape to a music recording company, who liked the song, and offered Sayuki to record her album at the company's headquarters in Tokyo. Sayuki approved, and as soon as she arrived to Tokyo, she met her boyfriend again. As for the song, she had recorded it in a lyric album which contains only that song and the melody which she played separately. This album was released in 1970, and the song name was Kafka on the Shore. And that was the reason why Oshima was surprised by the name Kafka when they first met. Oshima continued telling Sayuki's story, and he told Kafka that Sayuki's boyfriend had been killed at his 20th year. During that period the students carried out revolutions, and during the chaos, a group of students kidnapped and beat him to death. After which Sayuki collapsed, even she did not attend his funeral, and as a result she left Takamatsu for 25 years. She returned upon her mother's death to attend the funeral, and to settle permanently in the town. And she is the one who persuaded the Kamuta's family to establish the library, as the building of the library holds a lot of memories for her with her lover. But for her the time has stopped in her 20s, she lives in her own world. The death of her lover hurt her soul. Also, Oshima told Kafka that his mother helped him to get this job. She introduced him to Miss Sayuki. When they arrived at the library, Oshima directed Kafka to the room in which he was residing. His room was simple and the only distinguished by a painting for a kid sitting on a chair opposite the shore. On the next day, Oshima arrived at the library early, explaining to Kafka the nature of the tasks required of him to start his work. Two ladies entered the library, starting recording notes, and browsing books for hours, without reading any of them. When they finished, they spoke with Oshima and Kafka, where one of the women told him that her name was Miss Suga, and that she and her friend were working for an organization that was surveying public cultural facilities from a feminist point of view, in terms of services and ease of use by women, and they were assigned to the Takamatsu area. Miss Suga began criticizing having one common bathroom, and that arranging the names of male writers precedes the names of females with all topics. Oshima tried to provide them with polite responses to their criticisms. But Oshima's answers were not convincing, so the two women were outraged and started released nicknames on Oshima, accusing him of being an example of all males in the world, who seek to deprive women of their rights and power over them. Oshima felt annoyed, and told them that he has a female body, but he preferred to be treated as a man. That's why he wears male clothes. Therefore, he is not representing an example of male intolerance in the world. The two ladies and Kafka stood shocked, and when the two women left, Oshima sat next to Kafka and apologized to him for telling him that way, but he wanted to stop the stupidity of the two empty women with narrowed horizon. Kafka told him that he will remain his friend while he is proud of this friendship. In the evening, Kafka and Oshima sat in his room in the library. Oshima presented him a newspaper containing an article that killed the famous sculptor Kiyuchi Tamura, and that the investigation proved that no robbery occurred, and they suspect the reason behind killing is revenge and that the police are looking for his only son, and the article was published days ago, during Kafka residence in the hut. Kafka remembered that the crime time matched the time he lost his memory the other night, and wondered about the possibility that the blood stain in his clothes could belong to his father. And with quick reaction Kafka said that he didn't kill his father. Oshima surprised from his reaction and told him that it's impossible to have committed the crime, as he spent that whole day in the library, and he would not be able to go to Tokyo and return by that time. Oshima solaced him, there is no need to claim strength. It is natural for him to feel sad, but he must be confident that what happened was not his mistake and reassure him that he is safe in the library. Oshima also informed him that a report in the newspaper has drew his attention, that mentioned the incident of fish falling from the sky without a scientific explanation for the accident, as well as another news about falling leech worms from the sky is on Fujigawa's rest at the night, and he thinks that strange events may be linked to his father's murder. Kafka encouraged and informed Oshima about his father's prophecy, as his father told him from his childhood that his destiny is to kill his father and to have sex with his sister and mother. Oshima was surprised how any father could tell his son about such a terrible thing. Kafka continued to talk about his father. He told Oshima that his father was a tainted person who broke everything he touched, and perhaps he was a wonderful sculptor, but Kafka always felt that his father was associated with something unnatural, and was sure that the reason his mother abandoned him was that he was part of his father. Oshima reassured him that his father's words were incorrect, because he did not kill him. He was in Takamatsu the night of the crime. Oshima left as Kafka wanted to stay alone. On that night, Kafka woke up at 3:25 at night, to find that there was a girl sitting at the desk wearing a blue dress. It looks like she is 15 years old, staring at the boy on the shore's painting and then staring towards Kafka. The blood froze in his veins and wondered if he sees a ghost, and then the girl stood up and walked toward the door of the room and disappeared. Kafka stood and lit the light and could not return to sleep. When Oshima arrived at work, Kafka told him that he wanted to listen to Kafka's On the Shore song in the original version. He went to the library store and tested the CD player, and after hours, Oshima brought the song from his mother, and asked Kafka to never play it in the presence of Miss Sayuki. Kafka thanked him and told about his vision regarding the girl in the blue dress. Oshima convinced him that it was only an illusion. Kafka examined the album to find a picture of Miss Sayuki at the age of 19 on the cover sitting in front of the piano in her blue dress. Kafka realized that she was the same girl he saw that night. She was Miss Sayuki but at the age of 15. When Kafka finished his work, he went to his room, and listened to Kafka's On the Shore song more than once. Every time he realized the reason for its success, Miss Sayuki wrote it for her love with real emotions. He doubted that she sat in this room and contemplated the boy's painting on the shore repeatedly, and this is what inspired her. He heard it again. He felt that some words intertwined with accidents that actually took place, such as using the phrase heaven raining a small fish, and wondered about its connection with the incident of falling fish in the Nakano neighborhood. Using the sentence a shadow becomes a knife cuts off your dreams, and whether it has anything to do with the crime of killing his father. Kafka wrote the lyrics of the song asking if all her words has some meanings. At 3:25 at night, Kafka woke up to find the same girl in her blue dress sitting on the chair. She stared at the boys on the shore painting. His heart started beating so hard. Then the girl turned away from the painting and stood in front of Kafka. It seems that an invisible barrier separates them. She looked back to the painting then disappeared. Kafka was convinced that she was Miss Sayuki at the age of 15. And it dawned he went out walking on the shore and thinking about the painting and the boy in it and a secret attached to it. Kafka returned to the library, and when Oshima came, he informed him that he listened to the song and he felt that when Miss Sayuki wrote the lyrics of the song, she did not understand its meanings. Oshima explained to him that many poets dreams of the words as it's coming from another world, and maybe that what happened to her. Kafka confessed to Oshima that he thinks that Miss Sayuki may be his mother, as he feels a strange connection toward her. Oshima replied that it is possible, as Miss Sayuki disappeared for 25 years and maybe during that time, she met his father and get married. At noon, Oshima asked Kafka to deliver Miss Sayuki's coffee to her office. She asked him to sit, and explained that she is aware of his story, as Oshima told her everything. She told him that he reminds her with a guy she knew a long time ago. They are similar in their love to reading and isolation from people. She also told him about her attempts to write a book about the people who have experienced lightning strikes. And for that she traveled and interviewed a large number of them, and despite the book was not successful but she enjoyed the adventure. Kafka finished his work, and returned to his room. Kafka played the Kafka on the Shore song and remembered that his father was subjected to a lightning bolt during his study at art school, and when he walked he decided to professionalize the art of sculpting, and this increased the suspicions of Kafka that the Miss Sayuki could be his mother. That night the girl appeared early at 2:47, wearing her blue dress and sitting on the desk, staring at the boy on the shore's painting. Kafka encouraged and called her by the name of Sayuki. She looked towards him. Kafka continued calling for her name hoping that she would communicate with him. To feel his presence, but in a moment she disappeared. The next day, Oshima informed Kafka that the police officer contacted an inquirer about him, as they knew that he was currently in Takamatsu through tracking his father's phone, and that he left the hotel where he was staying on the 28th, which is the same night his father was killed. Oshima told him that he lied to the police that he had not seen him since that date. Kafka felt intimidated. Oshima reassured him that the police did not suspect him, but they hoped that he could help them to find evidence to solve the crime. Then Kafka felt willing to see Miss Ayuki. Perhaps as time in the library became short, he went up to her office, talked a little and asked her if she had given birth to children. Miss Ayuki refused to answer the question, and asked him to leave. Kafka returned to his room, sitting, thinking, did he fall in love with Miss Ayuki at the age of 15, or the Mistress Sayuki at the age of 50, and how would he feel if he could not see her again? That night, Kafka slept on the sound of the song Kafka on the Shore, and at 3:25 he woke up to find the girl sitting at the desk. But there was something different. She was not Miss Ayuki at the age of 15, she was Miss Ayuki at the age of 50. She approached him as if she was controlled by a hidden force. Kafka wanted to woke her up as they are in real world, and he is not her deceased lover, but he also felt that he wanted her. And after they spent an intimate time together, she left the room, and he could not return to sleep. At noon, Kafka brought coffee to Mistress Sayuki's office, spoke to her in a normal way. He realized that she did not remember what had happened the previous night, and told her that he had a theory that she might think it's crazy. But he is the son of the sculptor Kyuichi Tamura, and he thought she is his mother who abandoned him in his 4th year. Miss Ayuki stayed silent. He told her about the girl that visits him the room every night. And he is sure that she is her in her 15 years old, and that he fell in love with her, and now he falls in love with a Miss Ayuki sitting in front of him. Also, he feels that she is just waiting for her death to come. She told him that he was right, as she can't carry on in life and she is only waiting the time to pass. In the evening, Miss Ayuki returned to the library, entered Kafka's room, stared a little at the painting, and told him that she was her lover's painting at the age of 12. Miss Ayuki stared at Kafka for moments, then they spent intimate time together. Later, she started to cry. He couldn't say anything to calm her. Then she left with her car. The next day Kafka visited the gym. He felt a need to get out of the library, and he thought to leave Takamatsu. Then Crow appeared to inform him that he was now in love with Miss Ayuki, and he probably wouldn't be able to leave. Kafka returned to the library. At noon, he insisted to deliver Miss Ayuki's coffees to her office, to tell her about his theory of her meeting with his father while preparing her book. Miss Ayuki denied any knowledge of a person with the name of Tamura. Kafka told her that he did not believe her and that she is hiding the truth from him. Miss Ayuki apologized for meeting in his room. Kafka was angry and told her she looked like him, as they were both stuck by his own whirl. Early in the morning, Oshima called Kafka and asked him to pack his bag, and that he was coming to pick him up. When Oshima reached, they took the car and drove towards the hut in the Koki Mountains. And on the way Oshima explained to him that the police called him again, and that they were serious about finding Kafka, and new evidence appeared. Where it turned out that on the night of the crime, an old man came to the police station to confess to a murder crime, but the policeman did not take him seriously. When the crime was revealed, the policeman feared that he would fall into trouble, so he hid the arrival of the old man. But later it was discovered. The police started to search for him, to discover that he is an easy-thinking old man who lives on the A, residing in the Nakano district, where Kafka's house is located with his father. But he disappeared from his apartment, and investigations have proven that he traveled until he arrived at Takamatsu, where Kafka also went, and accordingly, the police think that they cooperated together to commit the crime, and that he is also the same man who caused the fish to fall from the sky, where he foretold the policeman the night of his confession. Oshima told Kafka that it is better to stay at the hut for a while, and from Miss Ayuki, he is aware of their relationship, and knows that Kafka is in love with her, but he must realize that she is dying, and that he cannot help her, as sometimes things happen without a logical explanation. Oshima delivered Kafka to the hut and asked him to warn of the forest. as before more than 60 years ago, Japanese forces trained in the mountains. During the exercises, they lost 2 soldiers and was not found, and that some people think that the forest contains an entrance to another parallel world. And before he leaves, he told him that he will come back after a week. Kafka spent the rest of the day thinking of Miss Sayuki, and about the life she lived and the feelings she experienced. Days later, Kafka decided to explore the heart of the forest, left the hut with what he needed, in addition to a yellow paint spray. And after reaching the circular flat area, he went north, start spraying the yellow spray on the trees to find the return way. The more he went deeper in the forest he heard different voices, the fear leaking inside him, and had a strong feeling that he is being watched. Sometimes taking the road up and sometimes down, and during the road he did not forget to continue spraying the yellow spray. And while he was walking, the boy crow appeared. He told him that to be strong he must let the light sneak inside to warm his cold heart, and then he would retrieve himself. Crow boy disappeared. Kafka found himself once more lonely in the forest, thought of Crow's words. But he is very lonely, empty from the inside. He threw the yellow spray and everything he carried, and decided to go to the heart of the forest. Kafka kept rushing to the heart of the forest, occupying his mind for one question: why did his mother not love him? Why did she leave and left him with the hell of his father, leaving behind her a scar that does not heal? Then the crow boy appeared to tell him that his mother loved him, but he must understand the feelings of anger and fear that she felt and pushed her to abandon him. Then, Kafka met 2 satyrs sitting on a small space. One was tall, thin, and wearing glasses, and the other was short with wide shoulders. They welcomed Kafka and told him that they were waiting for him. Although Kafka should be surprised to see the 2 soldiers who disappeared more than 60 years ago, but he felt in a strange way that they were in their rightful place. The tall, thin soldier told him that they had escaped from the army, and then found themselves in this spot, and that for them time had no value, and cause they are part of the forest, they knew of his coming, and that if he wanted to enter he don't have much time, as the entrance opened by chance but not for a long time. Kafka hesitated, then the short, broad-shouldered soldier told him that he could return, but no one had even come to this spot without a reason. Kafka asked them to accompany him, as he actually decided his decision not to return. The soldiers led and Kafka followed. The path the 3 of them took is not as an ordinary path at all. Rather, the tree's density has increased, and the land strangled with thorny plants. After a while they stopped, and informed him that they are in a region called the Edge, and when they exceeded half of the journey, they stopped in front of what looked like a carved basin, in which there are a number of small houses. And as they moved forward, Kafka did not see people or animals. The 2 soldiers led him to a hut that contained old-fashioned furniture, and asked him not to leave the hut, and that at evening someone would come to prepare food for him. Kafka checked the hut and laid on the bed and surrendered to sleep. And when he woke up he found the evening had come. He went to the kitchen to find the girl who visited him in the library, Miss Sayuki, at the age of 15, a real person standing in front of him preparing food. Kafka stood shocked. She asked him to sit down to eat, and when he asked her about her name, she said that everyone in the city does not have a name, because the name is not important, and that if he decided to stay he would not need his name either. He told the girl that he met her before inside a library in a faraway land, and that he came to meet her. The girl ignored his comment and told her that she will come the next day, then she left. The next day Kafka woke up to find his watch stopped, and the girl was preparing food. Kafka asked her about the city. She told him that everyone lives in his own world, communication is simple, neither time nor memories are important, and that everyone is part of the rain, the forest, the universe. She ended her work and left, leaving Kafka with more questions. At noon, he was surprised by the presence of Miss Sayuki at the age of 50. She told him that she had come in order to meet him for the last time. She had burned all her memories, and within a short time she won't be able to remember anything from her previous life, even their time together, and he should leave as the entrance is about to be closed. He explained that there is nothing to go back to it, and that no one ever loved him his entire life, no one ever wanted him, and the life he left is not important. She asked him to be back for her, and to remember her all the time. He asked her for the last time if she were his mother. She replied that the feelings of fear and anger pushed her to abandon something she should have never left, and she begged him to forgive her. And for the first time he called her mother, and that he forgave her. Then she goodbye him and left. After a while, Kafka left the hut, went to the edge of the forest, met the two soldiers, and they knew that he'd decided to leave, so they accompanied him to the little space. Kafka thanked them, and farewelled them, knowing that it was their last meeting. At 9 in the morning, Oshima's older brother Sada arrived with his car completely different from Oshima, with his huge body and brown skin from surfing. Kafka left with him, and in the way he told him that Oshima couldn't because of a problem happened in the library. Sada asked Kafka about his opinion in the forest. Kafka confessed that he went deep into the forest, and he met a very strange world, and that he apologized because he can't explain what he had seen. When they arrived to the library, Oshima welcomed Kafka, and informed him the news of Miss Ayuki's death. Kafka was not surprised, he already knew. Oshima told him that she left him the boy on the shore painting. Kafka thanked him and told him that he decided to return to Tokyo to clarify things with the police, and he will finish his high school before he decided his next plan. Oshima wished him luck and told him that he could visit him at Takamatsu anytime. Kafka thanked him again, took his bag and left. At Takamatsu station, Kafka called Sakura and informed her about his return to Tokyo, and thanked her because she is his older sister. Then he took the train. Kafka arrived at night and it was raining, and wondered if he acted the right way. The crew boy appeared to told him that he did the right thing, better than everyone else, and he is the strongest boy at the 15 years old. Thanks for your generous watching. If you like the video, please subscribe the channel, press the like button, and activate the notifications.